I, 30M, need opinions on my situation with my father, 65M, and sister Sarah, 35F. Everything started 3 years ago when my father decided he wanted to buy a house. He had been renting all his life and finally wanted a place of his own. The problem was that he didn't have enough money saved up, and the banks weren't giving him a good interest rate due to his age and credit score. I had been working in tech for 8 years and had saved up a decent amount. When father approached me about helping him buy the house, I didn't think twice. We decided that I would contribute 40% of the down payment and he would contribute 60%. The house was put in both our names since I was contributing a significant amount. Some background about our family: my mother passed away when I was 12, and father raised me and Sarah as a single parent. He worked 2 jobs to support us and made sure we both got good education. Sarah was always the favorite child though. Being the older sibling, she got more attention and father always sided with her in any argument. This continued into our adult lives too. Sarah married Mike, 37M, right after college. Mike worked in sales and they lived in another city, about 4 hours away. I stayed in our city, got a job in tech, and focused on building my career. Father lived alone in a rented apartment and I visited him every weekend. When we bought the house together 3 years ago, the plan was simple. Father would live there, and I would continue staying in my apartment since it was closer to my office. I would visit him regularly and help with maintenance and repairs. Everything worked perfectly for the first 2 years. Last year, Mike lost his job due to company restructuring. They tried to manage with Sarah's income for a few months but it wasn't enough. Mike struggled to find work in their city. Finally, they decided to move back to our city for better opportunities. Father offered them to stay with him while they looked for a place. I was actually supportive of this arrangement initially. I even helped Mike update his resume and referred him to some companies. Sarah seemed grateful and things were cordial between us. They moved in with father about 8 months ago. Things started changing around 6 months ago. First, father began dropping hints about how Sarah and Mike were struggling financially. He would mention how expensive rent was in our city and how difficult it was for them to save for their own place. I sympathized but didn't think much of it. Then the conversations became more direct. Father suggested that since I had my own apartment and a good job, maybe I should consider signing over my portion of the house to Mike. His argument was that they needed it more than I did. I refused because that made no sense. I had invested my hard-earned money in that house. That's when the real manipulation started. Father would call me daily, sometimes multiple times, telling me how selfish I was being. He brought up how he had raised us alone after mom died, how he had always put us first, and how I was betraying family values by not helping my sister. Sarah joined in too, sending long messages about how I had a stable job while Mike was struggling. They even involved our extended family. My aunts and uncles started calling, telling me how disappointed they were in my behavior. Sarah would cry to them about how her husband was depressed due to unemployment and how I was refusing to help despite having means. The emotional manipulation got worse when they started bringing up mom. Father would say things like, "Your mother would be so disappointed to see you refusing to help your sister," or "This is not how we raised you." Sarah would remind me of how mom always wanted us to stick together and support each other. After weeks of this constant pressure and guilt tripping, I finally gave in. I signed over my share of the house to Mike, thinking it would bring peace to the family. Father and Sarah acted very grateful initially. They said I had done the right thing and that mom would be proud. But things only got worse after that. About a month after I signed the papers, father told me I couldn't come over to the house anymore. He said Mike felt uncomfortable with my visits because he thought I was checking up on my former investment. I was completely shocked. Not only had they taken my share of the house, but now they were banning me from visiting my own father. When I tried to reason with father, pointing out how unfair this was, he sided with Mike completely. He said I needed to respect their privacy and that it was their house now. Sarah started spreading stories in our extended family about how I was harassing them and wouldn't let them live peacefully even after giving up my share. Most of our relatives believed Sarah's version because she had always been the more social one who maintained better relationships with family. They started treating me coldly at family gatherings. Only my cousin Tom, 32M, stood by me. He could see through their manipulation and advised me to cut contact with all of them. I know I was stupid to sign over my share. I let them emotionally manipulate me using mom's memory and family obligations. But I never expected them to completely cut me off after getting what they wanted. Father seems perfectly happy with his new arrangement, living with Sarah and Mike while pretending I don't exist. I'm still paying off the loan I had taken for my share of the down payment. Every time I make a payment, I'm reminded of how they took advantage of me. Now I'm wondering if I should have stood my ground despite all the emotional manipulation. Was I the asshole for initially refusing to give up my share of the house? Update 1. Hey everyone, it's been 2 months since my original post. A lot has happened since then. After getting valuable advice from the comments, I decided to focus more on my career to distract myself from the family situation. My tech company was expanding and opened a new office in a city about 6 hours away. When they asked for volunteers to transfer, I immediately raised my hand. The change seemed perfect: new city, new people, and most importantly, distance from all the family drama. I didn't even tell father or Sarah that I was moving. They probably found out from relatives, but nobody reached out. The transfer came with a promotion and better pay, which was great. But the best part was meeting Emma, 32F. She owns a successful real estate investment company and is one of our biggest clients. We started working closely together on some tech integration projects for her company. Emma is different from anyone I've ever met. She's incredibly sharp in business but also very kind and understanding. We would often end up talking long after our work meetings were over. One day, she asked me out for coffee, and things just clicked between us. For the first few weeks, we kept things casual and professional at work. But we started spending more time together outside office hours. She showed me around the city, introduced me to her friends, and made me feel welcome in my new life. I was hesitant to tell her about my family situation initially. It's not exactly a great story to share when you're starting to date someone. But after we had been seeing each other for about a month, we were having dinner at her place and she asked about my family. Maybe it was the wine, or maybe I just felt comfortable enough with her, but I told her everything. About helping father buy the house, how they manipulated me into giving up my share, and how they cut me off afterward. I expected her to think I was naive or foolish, but her reaction surprised me. Emma was absolutely furious, not at me, but at my family. Being in real estate herself, she said what they did was a clear case of financial abuse combined with emotional manipulation. She wanted me to take legal action, but I explained that I had signed over my share willingly, even if under pressure. The interesting part came when Emma looked up the house details. She knows the real estate market in my old city very well since her company has several properties there. She told me that due to new development projects in that area, property values had increased significantly over the past year. The house I had invested in was worth almost double now. My father and Mike had actually made a huge profit from my investment without even realizing it. About a week after this conversation, I started getting messages from Sarah. Apparently, she had heard through some mutual business contacts that I was dating Emma. Suddenly, my sister who hadn't contacted me in months wanted to reconnect. She acted like nothing had happened, sending casual messages asking about my new job and life. Then came the dinner invitations. Sarah said father really missed me and wanted me to come visit them. She even offered to pay for my flight tickets. The timing made it obvious, they had looked up Emma and her company, and now wanted to get back in my good graces. I didn't respond to any of their messages. I showed them to Emma, and she just laughed at how transparent their intentions were. She said people often show their true colors when money is involved, and my family had shown theirs twice now, first when they took advantage of me, and again when they tried to crawl back because of her success. Emma and I continued dating, and things got serious pretty quickly. We moved in together after 4 months. She's completely different from my family. She's always direct about money matters and insists on keeping everything clear and documented. We even signed a rental agreement when I moved in, which she said was just good business practice regardless of relationships. Last month, we got married in a small ceremony. Only Tom, a few close friends, and Emma's family attended. We didn't want a big wedding, and I definitely didn't want to invite my family. Of course, father and Sarah tried to contact me when they heard about the wedding. They sent messages about how hurt they were to be excluded, how families should stick together, and all that. I had already blocked them everywhere. Tom came to the wedding and told me that Sarah had been telling everyone that I was being manipulated by my rich girlfriend, now wife, into abandoning my family. The irony of that accusation after what they did to me is just incredible. But I don't care anymore about what they say. Emma and I are happy, and that's all that matters to me now. I know this update might seem like a fairy tale ending. Guy gets betrayed by family, moves away, meets successful woman, falls in love. But life is strange sometimes. Emma says what my family did to me actually worked out in my favor because it gave me the push to move away and start fresh. I'm not sure I agree completely, but I'm happier now than I've been in a long time. The only thing that still bothers me is that they got away with what they did. But Emma just smiles whenever I mention this and says patience, things have a way of working out. I'm not sure what she means by that, but I've learned to trust her instincts. Update 2, it's been 6 months since my last update. Emma and I have been happily married and focusing on our life together. She's been teaching me about real estate investment, and we've been looking at properties in different cities, including my old city. Last month, while browsing listings, Emma noticed something interesting. My father's house was up for sale. Apparently, Mike had finally found a job in another state, and they had decided to sell the house and move. The listing had only been up for 2 days. Emma didn't tell me her plan initially. She just casually mentioned the listing and asked if I was okay talking about it. When I said yes, she explained that the house's value had nearly doubled since I had invested in it. The new development projects in the area had really paid off. The next day, Emma's company placed a bid on the house through their corporate name. She offered 15% above the asking price, knowing they wouldn't refuse such a generous offer. Father, Sarah, and Mike had no idea that the company bidding on their house was connected to me. The sale process moved quickly because they were eager to get the high price and wanted to move for Mike's new job. They didn't even bother to wait for other offers after seeing Emma's bid. The paperwork was completed within 2 weeks. The day after closing, Emma transferred the house to both our names. She then had her company's lawyers send a formal letter to my father and Mike, informing them that the new owners would be moving in soon and they needed to vacate the property within 30 days as per the sale agreement. When they learned that I was one of the new owners, all hell broke loose. Sarah called me crying, leaving long voicemails about how we couldn't throw our father out of his house. She conveniently forgot that they had done exactly that to me after taking my share. Father left angry messages calling me ungrateful and disrespectful. He said he couldn't believe I would stoop so low as to throw my own father out on the street. The same father who had banned me from visiting that very house after manipulating me into giving up my share. Mike initially tried to act tough. He threatened legal action, saying they had been tricked into selling. They even hired a lawyer, but he told them they had no case. They had willingly listed the house for sale and accepted the highest bid. The fact that the buyer was connected to me was irrelevant since all paperwork was legal and proper. The best part was when Sarah tried to guilt trip me using Mom's memory again. She sent a long message about how Mom would be ashamed of me for being so heartless. Emma, who normally stays calm about everything, actually got angry at this. She drafted a reply reminding Sarah how they had used Mom's memory to manipulate me into giving up my investment, and then kicked me out of the house. Sarah didn't respond to that. They moved out last week, right at the end of the 30-day period. They left the house in pretty bad condition, dirty walls, stained carpets, and some minor damage to fixtures. Emma just shrugged it off and said we would renovate anyway. We're planning to rent out the house, neither of us wants to live there after everything that happened, but it feels good to have it back. Some of my relatives have been calling to tell me how wrong this was. They say I shouldn't have let my wife buy the house just for revenge. But they don't understand, this wasn't about revenge, it was about justice. They took advantage of my trust and manipulated me using family obligations. Emma helped me take back what was rightfully mine. Tom visited the house after they moved out and said this was perfect karma. He reminded me how they had pressured me into giving up my share by saying family should help each other. Now they're learning that karma works both ways. Emma says this is just good business, we got a valuable property in a developing area, and they got more than fair market value for it. She's already planning renovations to increase the rental value. Sometimes I look at her and wonder how I got so lucky. She not only understood my pain but helped me get justice in the most elegant way possible. Father, Sarah, and Mike are moving to their new state next week. Good riddance, I say. The house that they took from me through emotional manipulation is back in my name, and this time, no amount of guilt tripping is going to make me give it up. Update 3, it's been a year since everything happened. The house has been completely renovated and is now rented to a lovely family, a doctor, his wife, and their 2 kids. The rental income is actually higher than what we expected, thanks to Emma's smart upgrades to the property. My father, Sarah, and Mike moved to their new state for Mike's job. The last I heard, they bought a smaller house there using the money from our purchase. They tried to reach out several times through relatives, especially during holidays. They sent messages about how families should forgive each other and move forward, but I maintained no contact. Sarah had a baby 3 months ago, and suddenly all the relatives started pressuring me to reconcile. They said I should let go of the past because I was an uncle now. My aunt called to tell me that father cried when he heard about my decision to not visit the baby. Apparently, Sarah had hoped that her baby would bring the family back together. What they don't understand is that this isn't about holding a grudge. They didn't just take my investment, they manipulated me using my mother's memory, took advantage of my trust, and then cut me out of their lives when they got what they wanted. Only when Emma came into the picture with her success did they try to reconnect. That shows their true character. Tom visited us last month and updated me on the family gossip. Apparently, Sarah and father have been telling everyone that I betrayed the family by throwing them out of their home. They say I let money and my rich wife change me, and that I forgot all family values. They conveniently forget to mention how they manipulated me and took my investment, or how they banned me from visiting the house after getting my share. Some family members have been quite critical of how Emma and I handled the situation. They say buying the house was unnecessarily vindictive and that we could have just let them sell it to someone else. But I disagree, it wasn't about being vindictive, it was about justice. They needed to learn that actions have consequences. Emma and I are expecting our first child now. We've decided not to share this news with my family. I don't want my child growing up around people who think it's okay to manipulate and take advantage of family members. Emma's family has been wonderful, and it's all the family we need. The rental income from the house goes into a separate account. Emma suggested we use it to start a college fund for our baby. It feels good knowing that the investment I almost lost will now help secure our child's future. Last week, Sarah sent a long email about how she misses her brother and wants our children to grow up knowing each other. She wrote about Mom again, saying she would want us to reconcile. I didn't respond. They lost the right to use Mom's memory against me when they used it to manipulate me the first time. I'm happy with my life now and have no interest in reconnecting with them. Emma says time and distance help heal all wounds, but some relationships are better left in the past. I agree. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your peace of mind is to close certain chapters completely. The whole experience taught me an important lesson about family. Blood relation doesn't give anyone the right to take advantage of you. Real family supports you and stands by you, like Emma did, not manipulates you for their benefit like my father and sister did.